We are the sexagenarian sages.
And we are here to bust the myths of sex and aging.
Now, today, I want to know, why do I have to do everything around here? Sounds like a common problem. Now, I know darn well I don't have to do everything around here. But for many, many years of our marriage, I created a lot of stress and conflict in our marriage around housework. And in fact, I trained him not to do housework. Didn't do it deliberately. And I'm so thankful that you never gave up completely. Now, how did I do it? I did it by criticizing, nagging, standing over him and supervising when he did something and telling him how to do it. This was all in my mind, trying to get him to help out. And the honest truth is, he had been on his own for a long time before we got together. He knew how to do housework. I was in control because I was stuck in that conditioning about how our house should be spotless, and felt like I was failing as a wife because it almost never was spotless. And instead of looking at my own crap around this, I turned it on him and tried to change him. And how did that feel to you?
Well, it felt like she always wanted things perfect. Whatever in the world perfect was. If I did it the way I liked it, that was good enough for me, but it wasn't good enough for her. So I began to give up trying to do things the right way because I wasn't going to be able to do them the right way. And so it was just a point of contention. Why even bother? Yeah. I also felt a certain amount of resentment that, look, for years, I cooked for myself. I took care of my own dishes. I did my own house cleaning. I know how to do this. Don't be telling me how to do it. If it's not the way you like it, well, then you do it
yourself. And the truth is, he did not make me responsible for housework. I did. By being such a perfectionist and by not appreciating what he did, he would get to his chores in his own time and his own way. And I also had this vision that the chores had to be divided fairly and equally, and this is your job, this is my job. And it just created more tension and more conflict. And it wasn't till I realized a couple of things. First of all, I realized that I was the one creating all this tension and conflict. I was so stuck in my perfectionism, and perfectionism is something I've had to work on a lot over the last few years. But I also realized that his version of mess and mine were different. Look at all that stuff on the mantle. And I'd be wondering, I'd be silently expecting him to take care of the mess. Now, that's a pretty minor example, but that type of thing.
I had to read her mind.
He didn't even see it as a mess.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So here I am getting mad because he's not taking care of it. Some of the personal development work that we've done over the last few years has helped us work through this, come to a better place in this. I do not have the standards that I used to have, but we still have different versions of what's clean and what's not.
And I had things to work on as well. I was becoming an avoidant. I just wouldn't do it because I couldn't do it right, rather than take the time, first of all, separate my ego from it. So it didn't feel like I was being, how shall I put it, that I was being destroyed as a human being because I wasn't doing things right. That, okay, I like who I am, but she likes to have it a different way. Let's discuss it. Let's see how we can work through getting it done in a way that's going to be pleasing.
But instead, you just plain didn't. Let's take dishes, for example. The dishes, we don't do hand dishes every day. There's things that can't go through the dishwasher, and they pile up. And a couple of days would go by and they're not done. And it's like, oh my God, I've got to do them again. Why can't he do the dishes once in a while? And then every once in a while I go, can't you do the dishes for me? Yeah, that's a real pleasing way for me to approach him. And that really makes him want to
Yeah.
help out.
So I would become defensive,
Mhm.
and I would say something like, well, I can't do them right. Whenever I do them, I'm not doing them right. So why should I even bother? Or I've been busy. I work 40 hours a week. For a long time, I was doing 60 to 80 hours a week, earning money to keep us going, yada, yada, yada. So I throw up my defense.
And to be honest, my reaction that way was often when I was overtired, overwhelmed, and my interactions suffered because of that.
Yeah, you'd be irritable,
Mhm.
frustrated. Sure.
Yep,
We all get there.
yep, and it still happens sometimes now, but at least I'm more aware that's happening. And most often it's a case of I'm not asking for help, or I'm pushing to get 1 or 2 or 3 more things done before I rest. One of the ways we've learned to address this, besides me understanding that my standards were, shall we say, over the top, was learning to do conscious asks for help in a way that would register with him, instead of just saying, oh, can you take care of the dishes?
Or even without even asking, this is such a mess.
Oh, yeah, the read the mind
Yeah.
thing. The conscious ask is something that I've developed based on the teaching from a couple of different mentors. And it consists of appreciating what he's doing, being firm in my mind of exactly what it is I want to ask him to do, making sure he's able to hear me when I have the ask, making the ask, and then finding out how I can help it. So let's give you a little bit of example. I really appreciate all the help you gave me, getting all the dirt upstairs so that I could plant my roof garden. I love my roof garden, and I don't think I could have hauled all that dirt up by myself. I have something I need to ask of you regarding the garden. Is now a good time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm out of town next week. I'm hoping it'll rain enough. If it doesn't rain, can you water the garden for me?
I think I can do that. Yes.
Okay, how can I help you prepare to do it?
That hose arrangement you have is a little bit complicated.
Yeah, having to haul it up to the roof.
So I just need you to show me how to get it all together so I can do the watering.
Okay, and I will also show you how to touch the dirt and decide if it needs watering. Is there anything else?
Nope, that'll do it.
Okay, so I appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you.
You bet.
You'll notice that was a much more deliberate, appreciative, conscious way of asking for help. We don't do that every time we ask for help, but it's something that we know we want to be aware of when we're making a big ask, particularly, but even when I'm making the little asks. I want to watch my tone, watch my body language, and make sure that I'm asking in a way that is asking for help, not demanding that he do something for me.
And in my case, would look at her, put my attention on her, and listen. It's important that you get focused so you don't have 1,000 other things going through your head, so that what you're hearing isn't sitting inside.
Mm-hmm.
You need to focus and to listen. And don't become defensive. Because once you become defensive, then you've shut down again to the point where you're not hearing what's being said. Instead, be open and listen. You may have some things that need to be explained,
Mm-hmm.
some things you don't understand, or maybe some things you disagree with.
Or maybe you want to say no to the request.
Correct.
And in that case, it's incumbent on me to understand that no is an acceptable answer. It may be something we need to negotiate on, but it's not everything I ask of him he has to do. That's not the way a relationship works.
Yeah. And this that we just modeled does not create resentment.
Mhm.
And it allows for people to feel as though they are being seen and recognized and not being pushed and forced.
And one of the things that I learned once I started looking at myself around housework, changing my behavior, changing how I interact with him, is he really wants to help. It's not that he doesn't want to do it. He wants to help, but he needs to know how he can help me, and it needs to be a reasonable ask.
And I have to have a feeling that I can be successful at it.
Mhm.
If it sounds like something that, oh my God, there's no way I can do this, to please her. Well, I've learned not to necessarily be a pleaser, but obviously, if I'm going to be performing a task for her, there is a certain amount of pleasing that's involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that I'm no good if I can't please her. It does mean, however, that I want to do the task in a way that is appropriate and effective.
But not going overboard to be the perfectionist that I am.
Right.
And me accepting that sometimes he'll do things a little bit differently. Occasionally, I may make an adjustment to it if there's something in particular that I'm essential. So I may rearrange the things on the dining room table, for example, to please me a little bit better. It's not that he did it wrong. It's just I have a different eye for beauty than he does.
And I can accept that and not be defensive about it.
Mm-hmm. This is a little different. It's more of a relationship issue, but there's a tie into sex too.
Sure. How aroused, guys, do you think you are when you're being put down, when you're having to be defensive, when you feel as though you can't do anything right?
Mm-hmm. And how aroused do you think you are, ladies, when you're annoyed, you're overwhelmed, and once again, me being essential, when I'm surrounded by mess? The arousal goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in conflict over this, forget it. There's, the arousal just isn't there.
Yep.
When you're sniping at each other.
Yep.
The question is, why do I have to do everything around here? I don't have to do everything around here. But when that thought pops into my head, it's an opportunity for me to be aware of when I am pushing myself too hard and not asking for help.
It gives me the opportunity to practice not being defensive, not making my self-worth dependent upon another person, but understanding that I am worthy just as I am.
So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when we drop videos. If you have comments, please drop them in the comments.
I'd like to hear from you.
Yep. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.